All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. Yesterday, Friday, October 15th, 2021, the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, real ethical bunch over there, they approved the Johnson & Johnson booster. And we're going to talk about why from the first approval of their vaccine on February 27th, from that day to the latest booster approval was a span of 231 days apart. 231 is the 21st triangular number, and these are very special numbers to an entity that has existed in Washington, D.C. longer than the federal government, and that's the Jesuit Order. Just look at their university in D.C., Georgetown, which was established 23/1, January 23rd, 1789, in a ritual. If you're new here, the numbers on the screen with the words, that is gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. It's extremely important to the Jesuit order. In fact, it's the best kept secret about the English language. And when you follow the historical timeline, it's obvious that the language is so perfectly encoded because it was done by this same Jesuit cabal. Look at when the Jesuits came into existence, the 16th century. Look into when English was standardized with the spellings in the 26-letter alphabet we use today, about 30 years after the Jesuits came into being. And also notice that's the same moment in history that we went on the calendar we're now on, the Gregorian calendar, named after Pope Gregory, and the Jesuits served the Pope. But again, these Jesuits, the things they control, which includes our government, mega corporations, the news, the reason everything is perfect ritual every single day from this cabal is because this is the way they play God over the masses. Again, in Kabbalah, it said God created the world with numbers, letters, and words, and this is why they do this to us. But to rewind the clock, in case somehow you're brand new here and you haven't heard of Event 201, we've been educating about Event 201 nonstop for, almost 2 years now, But Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation of October 18th, 2019, put on by the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Johns Hopkins University, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, some big banks, things that are financially benefiting in the time of the pandemic is who also simulated this 1 month before the outbreak in Wuhan, China, and they even did it on the day that the Military World Games began in Wuhan, China, and if you look into the history of the Military World Games, they're credited to the Jesuit Order, and they began in Rome, where the Jesuits operate out of, in 95. Think about at the beginning of the pandemic how hard Italy got hit, where the Vatican is. But again, Event 201 was the name of the simulation. That is a huge number with the Jesuit order. Again, if you look into the history of the Jesuits, they were saved by Catherine the Great, who preserved the order by preserving it with 201 Jesuits, the number they claim. At the Event 201 simulation, the rep for Johnson & Johnson, his name was Adrian Thomas. His name equals 201. Just think about that. And then Moderna, their CEO, his birthday is July 20th, the 201st day of the year, the anniversary of the moon landing, where Neil Alden Armstrong is 201. So is heliocentrism, which was also discovered in the 16th century. But the founder of the Jesuits, his name, Ignatius of Loyola, 201 forwards. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, his name is 231. And 231, again, is the 21st triangular number. Here we are in the 21st century in the year 2021, and Jesuit equals 21. And if you haven't read my first book, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, again, that's the point I make. 9/11 happened right at the beginning of the 21st century, major Jesuit ritual, and as is COVID. And this is how these people are shaping the world, by scaring us, creating these problems, scaring us out of our rights and liberties, scaring us down the path of their tyranny. But again, all of this stuff is executed by a perfect code. And again, 201, 231, numbers of the Jesuit order. What do you know? That the Pfizer vaccines are approved 231 days apart from each other, the first one and the booster. And just for a bit more on 201, the actor who plays Pope Francis, Jonathan Pryce, his name is 201, like the phrase Catholic Pope, like the Jesuit order. Pope Francis's birth name, the first Jesuit Pope, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201, like Ignatius of Loyola, 201, the founder of the Jesuits. Pope Francis is the first ever Jesuit pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. The Jesuit pope's the first ever to live in Suite 201, and it's called the Domus Sanctae Martae, which also equals 201, you know? This number, so special to these people. And here's the other thing I want to make a point about. The city of Washington, D.C., Jesuit stronghold, also a Masonic stronghold, and modern Freemasonry is credited to the Jesuit order, created in the city of London, the banking district, June 24th, 1717. And again, the Masons builders, the Catholic churches, known for having great architecture. So think about where the Masons and the builders and the Catholic Church come together. But again, here it is. From the first approval, February 27th, to the latest October 15th, that's 231 days. It's also exactly 33 weeks. And with regards to 33, I have all these words written out. Let me just show you. If you could only have... Well, what I learned from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages is that the most important cipher, and I agree with him from what I've noticed over the years, but if you could only have one cipher, it's this one. And I just want you to see in 33, or the word 33. Masonry 33, or words that equal 33 in the cipher. Masonry 33, secrecy 33, order 33, federal 33, right? All of those words are 33. The Masonic headquarters in D.C. is at the address 1733. On the outside, there's 33 pillars on the outside, each 33 feet tall. And with regards to the address being 1733, the word Mason is 17, where Masonry is 33. And again, modern Freemasonry was created in 1717. 17's the seventh prime, G's the seventh letter. They got the capital G in their logo. But look at Freemasonry. 58, right? The first approval of the vaccine was February 27th, the 58th day of the year. And the first Jesuit pope happens to be Pope Francis, who, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, is also 58. It's 59 forwards, 58 in reverse. Freemasonry is much the same. Freemasonry is 58, 59. 59 is the 17th prime. 1717, modern Freemasonry created. 59 years later, this nation, the U.S., created. Jesuits and Masons, D.C. Also remember, Washington, D.C. has the gematria of 137, which is the 33rd prime, just using the alphabetic order. Government has the 137 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. Authorities got the 137 with the alphabetic order, again, all the 33rd prime. So the authority, the FDA, the federal authority, they approved the booster 33 weeks later as well, right? After it was first approved on the 58th day of the year. And, the other thing that needs to be said about that is this. The first vaccine was approved on the 58th day of the year. And who was the president at the time? It was, I take it back. He just left office. But he was the one who declared Operation Warp Speed to rush out the vaccines. I'm talking about Jesuit-educated Donald Trump. On May 15th, 2020, which was the 2-year anniversary of Clade X, the first coronavirus pandemic simulation the same group did, which was exactly 666 days before the pandemic was declared. But he was the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election, right? And he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. Very likely a Mason is Donald Trump. He has the Kabbalah plaque on his wall in his office. He's Jesuit educated. He went to Fordham. But it was the 58th day of the year that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine got approved. Trump was Mr. 58, right? So many 58 rituals with Trump. And again, just the way all these numbers fit together. And if you've read my first book, this is my second book. My first book's bigger, but in the second chapter, I really get into the connection with 58 and 33 and how these numbers come together ritualistically. I mean, since I released that book in 2017, there's been a million more examples like this. Just to see how ritualistic and repetitive it is. And that's the point I've always made. If you learn this knowledge, you'll see how these rituals are performed every day right before your eyes, but you're not expected to see them because you don't know this simple information that could have been taught to you as a child, but it wasn't because you weren't meant to know. You're here to be controlled and manipulated by these big governments, by these big corporations. Just to go back in time, that date, we covered that at the time. February 27th, 2021 was a date with 70 numerology, COVID vaccine, coronavirus. They both have the 56 forward, 70 in reverse. FDA's got the 70. And let's see. After that, or actually it was one day before the approval. It was Okay, so the FDA panel recommended it the day before it was authorized. It was authorized the next day. It got the recommendation one day before. So from the recommendation date to the second vaccine is 231 days later. From the day it was authorized to the second authorization of the booster is a span of 231 days. But the panel first recommended the vaccine on the 57th day of the year. And again, vaccine is 57, so is Georgetown, the Jesuit University there, Bill Gates 57. Again, lots of rituals with all these numbers. But just to remind how all of this has been so perfect. And Johnson & Johnson asked to be authorized on February 4th, 4/2, vaccine 42, February the lone 42 month, right? Remember, the vaccine went live on Bill Gates' 42nd day of his age. That's the day the first vaccine was approved. Pfizer, if I remember right, it was December 8th. Hold on. Yeah, it was December 8th. Bill Gates' 42nd day of his age, the man born on the same day as Jonas Salk, who on his first birthday was the day that Jonas Salk turned 42, and Elvis got the polio vaccine on live TV 42 weeks after his own birthday. Again, it just goes to show all the way back to the time of Elvis, and really way before that, they've just been doing the same stuff over and over. But again, you can just see that all of this is nothing but ritual. Ritual. This whole thing is a ritual. That's what people need to get through their head. There's no real pandemic. We're living out a ritual that's taking away our rights and liberties, and people just can't disconnect from the lie box. They're just so believing in the authority because this is what they learned to do in slave school. I mean, it's sad, man. Mind control is a very real thing for a lot of people. And I mean, people get mind controlled in all sorts of ways. You see people in this community that think they're awake that are under total mind control, taken by the biggest psyops in the community, from Pizzagate to QAnon to, yes, flat earth theory. U.S. calls for a pause on Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Remember this? They said it was causing blood clots. This happened on April 13th, which is the 103rd day of the year, and Jesuits, the plural is 103. But from the day that it was authorized to the day this happened was 46 days, blood clot 46, right? And big Catholic number, that's who the Jesuits serve, but the 103rd day of the year. And then they recommended resuming the use of the vaccine just right after that on April 23rd, which is the 113th day of the year, like coronavirus pandemic's 113. 113 is the 30th prime. Vaccine is 30. And remember, the pandemic was declared on March 11th, and we see that a big part of the pandemic is getting the entire world vaccinated, which is exactly what Bill Gates called for at his decade of vaccines, January 2010, almost 10 years to the day of the first confirmed case of coronavirus showing up in his backyard in Seattle, Washington. And when I say first confirmed case, I mean outside of mainland China. First in the world was supposedly in Bill Gates' backyard. Go figure. Just another coincidence. And all by the numbers too, right? Rather than repeat all that same information, it's all in the book. But here's something I was missing this whole time. And again, as I'm trying to finish the book, it's so hard for me to finish, man. I just want it to be, it's like, soon I'm getting real close to feeling like it's perfect. I want it to feel perfect when I'm done with it. But FDA issues emergency use authorization for third COVID-19 vaccine. That's the headline, but Johnson & Johnson's the name that we're reading in the headlines for these, but they're actually using a subsidiary of theirs that they bought, Janssen Pharmaceuticals that was developed. Janssen Pharmaceuticals was created in 1953. Johnson & Johnson bought them up years ago, and that's who they're using to make these COVID vaccines. Janssen. Look at the gematria of Janssen. You see how the 82 in the most simple cipher? Remember, this company Janssen was created in 53. Janssen equals 82. COVID equals 82 and 53. So again, this is even part of the ritual, just like even the company they choose to have develop it. How many 5382 things have we talked about? And I mean, right now, Merck, about to get Mercked with the pills. Merck's putting out COVID pills with an 82 on them. You know what I mean? But Janssen is the name of the Johnson & Johnson company that's making these vaccines. But look at their name in the 4 base ciphers. 82, like COVID. 19, like COVID-19. Seattle's 80. You know what? Janssen's the exact same as Seattle in all 4 ciphers. 82, 19, 107, 44. And did you see the Seattle Kraken the other night? Their first ever game won 4-3 after when they were first announced, like, what was it, a year ago? I made the point about how Seattle Kraken equals 43, Seattle Seahawks 43, Mariners 43. Seahawks won their only Super Bowl with 43 points. An abused number in Seattle, a Jesuit city. Sure enough, they win their first game 4-3. I mean, what a joke. But, okay, Janssen, the 107-44. Do you remember the name Warp Speed? You know, Operation Warp Speed, Trump's plan to rush out the vaccines. Warp Speed 107-44. And again, it's a sick joke because he announced this on the 2-year anniversary of Clade X, where in that simulation they rush out vaccines that actually do more damage to humanity than good. And that's part of the simulation, right? So then on the 2-year anniversary, you got Trump saying, let's rush out these vaccines with warp speed. I mean, and people think Trump's the hero. Again, here's the big psyops on the truth community. QAnon, Donald Trump, well, they essentially became one and the same. Pizzagate, flat earth theory. Just all so obvious. And it's becoming more clear that the flat earth theory is the Jesuit cabal behind that psyop as well. Rob Skiba makes it actually crystal clear, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But warp speed, 107-44, just like military. 107-44. And let's see. Did we hit all the important stories for the Johnson & Johnson timeline? We did. And remember where we began, with the Johnson & Johnson rep at Event 201, Adrian Thomas, whose name is 201. Now, I looked into Rob Skiba to see what the last thing he uploaded on YouTube. You can go to his YouTube channel. Just search Rob Skiba, R-O-B space S-K-I-B-A. He was at a Christian conference, and he wanted to share with the audience his short film, his 10-minute cartoon film. It's about World War II pilots on the date January 20th, 1942. And the purpose of this cartoon, it shows a shootout between Japanese fighter jets and American fighter jets. It's all, cartoon animation type stuff. Digital animation is probably the right phrasing. And then what happens in the end is the Americans crash and the Japanese are about to get him, but then a giant comes out of the trees and snatches up the soldiers and eats them. And he says that this is what he wants to do for Christianity. He wants to bring these cartoons that reveal biblical truths like the ancient days of giants. And I'm like, this is how you want to communicate with Christian youth. Like, I get trying to grab their attention in these ways because they're playing video games like this. They're already watching cartoons that look like this. But it's like, I don't know, man. It's like a bloody shootout. You see one pilot, like the bullets go right through the plane and he gets shot all in the chest and blood goes all over. I'm like, man. This is how you want to appeal to Christians? And he's asking for people to send him money because he says that 10-minute video I showed you just cost me $100,000 out of my pocket to make. And he says, I need more money because he says, I need millions so that I can make a full series like this so we can capture the minds of the youth, and get them understanding these biblical truths like giants. And I'm thinking, like, he even makes a point there. He's like, some people might say in the times we're living in, like, are these the most important things to be doing? It's like, dude, I mean, really? Like, the things you care about right now, as we're losing our rights and liberty, are flat earth and getting people to believe in biblical truths like giants through World War II shootout cartoons? He must have been flowing, man, to have $100,000 to just drop on a cartoon. I didn't know Rob Skiba had money like that. Who's Rob Skiba, man? I'm starting to wonder. The guy who had the radio show after mine, I didn't know he had money like that. I wish I had $100,000 to drop on a cartoon. But anyway, look at the date of the cartoon, you guys. Are you kidding me? January 20th, 1942? The Jesuit Order 201, Jesuit 42, War 42, World War 42, Japan 42. You know what I mean? Out of all the dates he could have put on this short preview of his multi-million-dollar cartoon series he wants to do, that's the date? I mean, And what were we saying about the day he supposedly died? He just died supposedly on the day, leaving 79 days left in the year. Rob Skiba's Mr. Flat Earth, Mr. Jesus. Society of Jesus, 79. Knights Templar, 79. You got to be a Christian to be Knights Templar. The Jesuits have the Templar cross in their logo. Knights Templar, 79. Christianity, 79. The word murder is 79. But in that same cipher where everything else was 79, look at Flat Earth Theory. You know? He's Mr. Jesus, Mr. Flat Earth Theory. And then he dies from COVID, which is a Society of Jesus ritual, a Jesuit order ritual, on the day leaving 79 days left in the year. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And don't ever forget that the pandemic was declared March 11th, 2020, Anthony Fauci's 79th day of being 79 years old. So, and you guys, I never noticed this before. Again, the network that I'm on, that Rob Skiba followed my show with every Wednesday night, and supposedly died on a Wednesday, it's called Truth Frequency Radio, but you guys got me. I'm looking at the Truth Frequency, and I'm going, man, I know it's Chris Geo's network. He's always seemed real legit to me, man. He's always been super cool, but I am starting to just scratch my... Because now between that... Because Rob Skiba's been on the network a lot longer than I have, and then the cartoon, I'm just starting to think like, oh my God. And TFR has been huge on the Flat Earth Theory, and that's what I've gotten a slap on the wrist for about 30 times for going after Flat Earth on the TFR show, because... Again, over half the hosts on TFR are all about the Flat Earth. And again, to me, it's just been nothing but a huge distraction and just senseless. The people who've gotten invested in Flat Earth have just shown that they don't know what time it is. You know, they didn't know what time it was. They didn't know how serious the agendas were, the coming censorship, the coming thing we're now living out. They didn't understand all that. I saw all that when I got into the movement, and I was talking about it the whole time. And that's why it was sad that Flat Earth came out in 2015 and stole a lot of people's minds from the things they were focused on, which were actually more meaningful. You know, like figuring out a way to really wake people up to what 9/11 was and what it means, since those people haven't been held accountable, and what they could do to us again, which they're now doing, and how much worse it could get for us. You know, I understood all this as an 18-year-old when 9/11 happened. Apparently, most people never had the epiphany or understanding. And then a lot of those people are ones that'll leave comments, Zach, I would have never woken up without Flat Earth Theory. And it's almost like, well, I wish you hadn't woken up, man, because you're not awake at all. I mean, you still think the most important thing is Flat Earth Theory? I mean, well, what's that say about you? What's that say about you? Tell you what, from someone who understands, it doesn't say anything positive. So there's about a million things that you should have woke up to in this world, and way before... just, you know, making the assumption and claiming it as your new belief system, your new truth, that the earth is flat. So, and don't forget what else is coded on QAnon, 201 as well, right? Major Jesuit PSYOP. Anonymous, clearly Jesuit. They use the Guy Fawkes mask, Guy Fawkes the Jesuit. Again, these things that co-opt the truth community again and again are clearly the Jesuits. And why wouldn't they be? They're the cabal, and people are trying to get to the root of who's behind all this evil. They're the ones constantly like misleading people and sending them off on crazy paths. So, you know. If you guys can't afford my book, I made it free to download the ebook on my Patreon page. And when I finish my new book, I'll make it free to download as well right away. I'm not even going to wait once I'm done. I just want to get the information out there the right way and in a way that people will actually read it and digest it. And honestly, as I continue to read my book over and over, the thing I like right now the least, it's not bad, but the thing that I like the least right now is the beginning. So I just keep going over the beginning and trying to tune it up, and I keep thinking I'm going to wake up one morning and be like, that's exactly what I need to do. And it will happen. It's just, the intro's got to be really good to get people, because people do not like to read. And I know the time is now to finish the book, but at the same time, you guys, I already have a great book out there about the pandemic. I mean, I don't even really need to write another book. It's just I'm trying to get this one so that people who don't read and who don't like to read, that they'll enjoy reading this. You know, it'll make them want to finish it in a couple hours, you know, or less, depending on how fast you read. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now, you guys. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and until next time.